Namaste and welcome to another special edition of Master Strokes. My name is Arjun Datta and I'll be your host for today. On this occasion of Father's Day, we've invited a lovely father and daughter duo, both of whom love to eat, love to travel, and generally have a zeal for life. I've had the privilege of knowing them for many, many years now, and today I'll be talking to them about their journeys, their experiences, and most of all, one recipe that they love so much that they decided to showcase it today for you. So please join me to welcome Chef Baksheesh Dean and Akanksha Dean. Chef, how are you?
Absolutely fine. How are you doing, Arjun?
All well, all well. And Akanksha, good to have you with us as well.
Good to be here too.
All right. First of all, a very, very happy Father's Day. And it
Thank
is
you.
Thank you.
a very special day. It's for our superheroes at home. And I know Chef Dean is no less of a superhero at home and outside as well. So thanks for agreeing to doing this with us today. We're really, really excited. And I can see a table full of ingredients. So I'm not going to keep that part too far away from this conversation. All right. So, Chef Dean, we're going to start this Master Strokes edition with a couple of questions, and then, as I mentioned, we'll dig right into the cooking.
Sure.
Let me start with you. You know, you started your schooling in Shimla, and where you were a sportsman. I read your profile. You've done everything. You've practically not left many sports alone, and you've been great at this as well. So, from school, from being a sportsman to traveling, and then leading all these restaurants, your journey, has it been exactly how you imagined it or a little different?
Well, my journey has been very different, Arjun. I was studying to be a doctor, and then ultimately I landed up at the School of Hotel Management, and that is where my journey began. And I was familiar with cooking, so I kind of stood out in the class because cooking is all about application of heat, textures, and seasoning. So if you get these three things right, cooking, and you can do everything. All you need is a little direction. So from there to the hotel management college, and that is how my journey began.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's wonderful to know. And so today you've chosen to cook jambalaya,
Right.
a dish that is known to many people, but for others, it's still a new dish as well. I mean, it's not something that you see on every restaurant menu. So, what
Correct.
inspired you to choose this dish, chef?
See, jambalaya is a very easy dish to do. Is very very close to the Indian palate. It has a little bit of spice. It has multiple flavors, and both me and Rupali, we got an opportunity to go to New Orleans in the Louisiana state, and try out that dish in local restaurants and learn how to cook that. And since then, we've had this in our house. And because we traveled around in Louisiana, and we saw that it is quite like a dal tadka, that every household has their own recipe. So you can it's very easy recipe, you can adapt it. So that is the reason why we chose jambalaya, because it's a very easy dish to do, and it's very flavorful.
All right. Well, I think I'll take your word for it. I think easy is when you know how to do it. So hopefully we'll learn some good techniques from you today, as always. And looking forward to this dish. So why don't we get cracking? And maybe I'll ask a couple of questions as you all start cooking. So over to you.
Sure. So what I'm going to do is just quickly run through the ingredients first.
Okay.
So the basic ingredients for jambalaya, and jambalaya, is usually in two styles. One is a red jambalaya called the Creole, and you have the brown jambalaya, which is called the Cajun jambalaya. So we are doing the red jambalaya because we love red things. We love tomatoes. We love red chili. We love all that kind of flavors, and it is very attractive to the Indian palate. So that is what we're going to do. So the basic things are all laid out here. We've got some onion here which has been diced. We've got capsicum. We've got celery. So these are the three components that become the base of a jambalaya, what they call the holy trinity. So this sauteed in oil, and then we move on to other ingredients, and then we start with the meats. So in the meats, you can do multiple kind of meats, whatever is available in your refrigerator. So today we have chicken, we are doing prawn, and in Louisiana they would do crawfish. We got sausage. The original sausage that you use in jambalaya is called andui. It's a smoked sausage of pork. But today we have a very good smoked sausage of chicken. And I had a couple of chorizos lying in our fridge. So I thought we'll put one of them. We've got some tomatoes which I have blanched and de-seeded, and I've chopped them up. So what you call the concas. And in the flavorings, you can actually move around in the flavorings. So here we are giving it a little Indian touch also, because I'm going to use a little coriander in this, and I'm also going to use green chilies in this. But otherwise, thyme and basil form the base of it. Usually they use dry basil, but we had some fresh basil with us. We've got some fresh thyme with us, and the regular seasoning. We've got salt, we've got pepper, and they use a dry spice mix where they would use garlic powder. They'll use a little oregano, dry basil. So what we have done here is, everybody gets these pizzas at their house, and the pizza seasoning comes. So it has all the components of that. So the saved up. So these are the saved up sachets. I opened them up here, and they will go into our jambalaya. And instead of dry garlic, I have got some freshly chopped garlic. So, and rice, I soaked the rice for about half an hour, drained it out so that this is lying here. So, should we just begin?
Yes, please. I just have one question, Chef, if you could share.
Yeah,
Is the rice
absolutely.
a special kind of rice, or have you used the staple basmati here?
We are using long grain basmati rice, but usually in the Louisiana area they use parboiled rice, but it is a long grain rice.
Okay.
So it can withstand a lot of cooking. So
Okay.
usually they would cook it for about 45 minutes to an hour in a Dutch oven, which is like a heavy bottom pan. So they make in that.
Okay.
So
And
should we just start off?
yes, please. And just to clarify, the chicken cuts, are there any special chicken cuts that you've used, or?
If you are short on time, you can use boneless chicken. I prefer using thigh because it remains nice and moist. But this is a mixed cut. Like we had curry cut lying in our in the fridge, so I've just taken that out. So this is about half a kilo of that. We've got about 300 grams of prawns and about 250 grams of sausage and all. And I've taken 2 cups of rice. So basmati usually takes in double the amount of water.
Yeah.
Louisiana or in New Orleans, they would use stock usually made with chicken bones or chicken and shrimp bones.
Wow.
We will be using water because there is so much of flavor that we have here. So this, if we just put water and let it simmer nicely, this will turn into a nice flavorful stock which will get absorbed into the rice. So
Excellent.
this is how we're going to be proceeding.
Excellent. Well, that's great, Chef. I think you've got a full house of flavors over there. I think
Sure.
we can get cracking, and I'll take the questions from there.
And that's about 1/4 cup of oil that goes into the pan. So this followed by little garlic, about a tablespoon of garlic. So this, just to flavor the oil, we just stir it a little bit.
Okay.
And this will be followed by the trinity. Trinity is the basic onion. So that's 2 medium-sized onions that I have used for this maw.
And so the oil that you use, what oil was that?
A lot of people use olive oil, but I have used peanut oil because that is an oil which does not impart too much of flavor.
Okay.
And is readily available at homes. So this is celery. Usually, 50% of the trinity is onions, 25% is capsicum, and 25% is celery. But here we are using a little more capsicum because in our house we love that flavor. So we'll just allow to saute this nicely, and I'm going to add just a little bit of salt in this. so it sweats a little quicker. And we'll use not too much of salt because we've got salt in the sausage also, and we've got salt in the chorizo also. So later we'll see if we need any of that.
Wonderful. All right. So while that is sweating, if I can use that word appropriately, I'm going to jump into a couple of questions, Chef, with your permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So my first question is for Akanksha. You're born in a family of foodies. I mean, both your father and mother, I adore them. They're reveled by the industry. Everyone just absolutely loves them. Tell us about your first cooking experience at home. I mean, is it often that dad cooks at home so often?
Mostly it was dad when I was younger. So we have made a pact, that every Sunday we would prepare a new recipe. So we would actually, I would sit with him, we would watch TSC all day on Sundays because that was the time I would get to spend with him because most of the week he would be in the hotel. The life of a chef, and Sundays would be his off. So that was the day he would dedicate, and we would sit and watch a lot of food shows, and whatever recipe I found very exciting or intriguing, we would try that out. So I remember I had a school project, and I was doing a very interesting theme on the Mayan cuisine. So what were the ingredients which were done at that time? So I remember the first ever thing that my dad taught me was how to make tortillas. Because at that time, corn was the staple ingredient in that civilization and how it evolved. So yeah, it was interesting, and I think because of that, I later wanted to become a chef. I think that clarity I got when I was in 11th, because I did an internship with the Leela in the bakery section, and the first 2 days were very challenging because you have to stand those long hours, you have to do a lot of hard work. But at the end of the day, when I came back home, I felt satisfied. So I knew that this line is for me, and spending time with dad on those Sundays made me want to pursue this line because I've seen him. I used to go to the hotel, and I used to see him cook in the kitchen, and he had this huge army of chefs with him. So yeah, it was really exciting. So I think that was the best experience I had when I was younger.
So,
Teaching me so much.
all in all, that's a rock star in the hotel all throughout. Excellent.
So we sorted it for about 2 minutes, and at this stage we go add the dry spices that we had.
Yeah.
We had that.
Like a true chef, he's a zero waste cooking. You don't waste your condiments either.
Correct. So a little bit of that, a little bit of black pepper, and here goes my green chili. And
Chef, tell me something. Is jambalaya generally a hot dish? Is it something that everyone will enjoy if they enjoy hot food, or is it a mild, medium to mild kind of a?
like I said, you can adapt it. It is mildly spicy because it has so many flavors in it. It has black pepper in it. It has chili in it, and I forgot one ingredient that usually they use there, which is the hot sauce.
Okay.
They use a little hot sauce there. So this is an American sauce called Frank's Red Hot Sauce. So we're going to use this also a little bit in our jambalaya.
Okay.
You can put it at this stage. So multiple, layers of flavors are going into this dish. And this is a little acidic also, will enhance the taste. So just probably two tablespoons of hot sauce.
Okay. Well, you make it, as always, you make it look so easy. But I'm sure, when you started out, and I'm going to work myself into the next question here. When you started out at the Taj Mahal in Mumbai, Chef, can you tell us your first experience? What was your first memory like walking into that kitchen at Taj Mahal, Mumbai?
So Taj Mahal, Mumbai was, where I really got very good exposure. And it was an exciting journey there. under Chef Hemant Oberoi. He's quite good with structuring all the training programs. He would rotate us in all the kitchens, and the best part about him was, so here goes the tomato. So
Okay.
the tomato also cooks out a little bit.
You should smell it.
I wish you guys all could smell this. So this is like absolutely fantastic.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
So with this, I'm adding in the chicken because this is chicken on the bone,
Yeah.
and I want to put the sausage also at this stage.
Absolutely. A meat lover's delight.
So the shrimp, we're going to be letting the shrimp in only towards the end.
Okay.
We had a little thyme along with the bunches only. We'll put it, and later we'll. So this is the spice. This is the spice hitting her throat. So I'm putting a little thyme here along with the stems, and later we can just take it out. Basil, I'll put it once the rice is simmering along with it. So at this stage, we're just going to cover it and let it simmer. Every minute or so, or every 2 minutes, we'll stir it so the chicken gets cooked, and then we will add the water. Okay, so we were talking about my journey at.
You were mentioning what your first experience of working at the Taj Mahal Mumbai was like.
Absolutely. It was probably the place where I actually started learning how to cook. Cooking in the institute and cooking in a hotel is very, very different. And I still remember in the main kitchen, my first day, we were introduced, and I was put in the continental section. So this old timer came, his name, because he was from a UP background, everybody would call him Babuji. So Babuji, strolls in. He says, "Arey chora, नया है?" हाँ सर नया है, अभी आज ही ज्वाइन किया है. व्हाइट सॉस बनाता है? मैंने कहा हाँ बनाता हूँ सर, व्हाइट सॉस बनाता हूँ. College we had done 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of butter and 500 ml of milk. So he says ये 80 लीटर दूध है, इसका जरा व्हाइट सॉस बना दीजिए.
Oh my God.
I had never handled something like this. हम ब्रेक पे जा रहे हैं तो उसके बाद हम फिर आके लजानिया बनाएंगे. It was frightening. I didn't know where to go. I kept thinking, now that volume, how will I make? And then I went up to the counter chef. He was again kind enough to come back to the section with me, and he worked with me to tell me that how such volume is handled, and it is very different from how you handle. So I got a fantastic exposure in the main kitchen. I got a wonderful exposure in the cold kitchen, in the garde manger. And then, Chef Hemant Oberoi put me in a specialty restaurant, which was very, very unique. It was called Menage a Trois. It did, modern cuisine at that time. This I'm talking about 92.
Wow.
So this was in 92 that I got exposure to, modern cuisine, or, modern thoughts, or the modern style of, creating menus and working with menus. So this was like a fantastic experience overall.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's wonderful, and I can actually almost imagine what that would be like. But obviously, you've experienced it, so you have wonderful memories to live by. Kanksha, you've also had a lovely start of your career. After completing your formal training in India, you trained in Italy, and then did a stage with Chef Massimo Bottura's restaurant. Tell us about that experience.
I remember I had been trying to get through the restaurant for 2 years, and I would put in an email almost every month because it's not easy to get into that that stature of the restaurant. And finally, my application got through, and I was the happiest person on this planet. But in reality, I feel that like an experience of working with a Michelin star chef, it seems all fancy and glamorous, but at the end of the day, it's not.
Seriously?
that is when my eyes opened up. I said that it's not all glamour. It is a lot of hard work. Like people clocking in at the same time. So I would report at 9 a.m. in the morning. I would clock in, and then our first task was to actually wipe the cutlery and the crockery, and all the chefs were doing that. So for me, that was like back in India, we don't do all of this. So that was, I think that is something where they teach you, discipline
Yeah.
of how to even respect your plate
Yeah.
while cooking. Like you're serving your art on that. So we would start with the plates, and then we would move on to our prep. And people don't realize is that the prep is the most important part of the meal.
True.
And that's what I appreciated, appreciating a simple ingredient. So we would do our prep and then prepare for the main dishes. And for the first time, I saw a lady chef in the kitchen, leading a bunch of men, and I was empowered like at the instant. So overall, I got along really well with her, and under her, I was able to learn more things. It's not about just learning the dishes, but how the handling of a section, the prepping of a dish, and it's a lot of hard work. So I remember we would work for 17 hours, but we would get a break. We would get a break, and during that break, we would all sit together and eat a meal together.
Wow.
We would all break at the same time. So I think there was no hierarchy in our kitchen. We were all like a family. So I think because of that, it made such a happy environment to work in. I think it was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had because you form a family. I'm still in touch with most of the people. Some people are still there. Some people have gone out. They've left, started their own new restaurants. And because once you become a family, seeing your family grow, and you get to learn so much from them. And I think Chef Massimo has created such a great environment. He doesn't take everything lightly. Whatever he's created a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication and a lot of passion towards his art. So I think he's something you would want to aspire to be and learn a lot of things from. So I think that early exposure was a big eye opener for me because a girl like in India we don't have that kind of exposure, those kind of ingredients or that kind of a social structure as well. Because I'm an Indian and I have these foreigners in the kitchen. I'm telling you the truth. In my initial days, I was scared. How am I going to like mingle with these foreigners? Like I've never been in that sort of a setting. And then I was like, no, they're just like us. We're all the same people. And
Correct. You feel very intimidated.
I feel very intimidated because I just I'm still in college. These people they've trained. They don't start formally with college. They start working in kitchens right from their 16.
Yeah.
And I've come out of my fancy land of college where I'm just like peeling one onion or like chopping a little bit, and these people are like professionals. So yes, speed is there. You get to learn so much and
speed, and they are very well organized.
Very well organized.
Yeah. So that is the biggest
service
difference.
is service. Like if this is the time they're supposed to start, there's like it's like a melody, and we would actually play music in the kitchen. We would time it, and we would play music as well. So I think that the overall
that was fun.
I think it's hard work, but if you have a happy environment, everything just works out. Those long hours don't seem stressful. I remember the first day I was a little tired because I would have to walk back to my Airbnb. So I had taken up an Airbnb at that point when I was living there.
Yeah.
But it made me very independent as a person, the overall experience. I could cook for myself. I could work. So I think if anybody gets an opportunity like this in their lifetime, they should grab it.
Wonderful. I think those are golden words. If the environment is pleasant, if it's welcoming, I think no hard work looks like hard work. And referring back to what you said earlier about, never actually having to clean or anything of that nature in India is, quoting a stand-up comedian I heard recently, he said, it takes a global pandemic to get us to do those things in India.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's absolutely true. Because we have so much help around here that we're just lazy. We're like, we have this person to do this.
Again, Arjun, that is one of the biggest differences that I see in the industry. That we are too dependent on each other.
Yeah.
we would want to come to work, gossip for half an hour, spend that 1 hour on my lunch break. But this is not there, in our travels. And when Akanksha also trained, Rupali was there all the time with her,
Really? Wow.
all through the training.
No, my mom. See, my
Wow.
mom did accompany me because I was.
You know,
I wanted someone to be with
so
me.
this is an Indian kid.
This is their mama. Yeah. This is their mama.
Used to used to all the pampering.
So she's the backbone, no doubt. No, I think I'll agree with you, Chef. Mr. Datta, our founder, always would tell us that if it's up to us in India, and not just India, I think anywhere, we tend to overdo something. There'll be 5 people doing one job, and that's, I think, when we border into over dependency, as you were sharing, there'll be 5 people to do one person's job. Which kind of causes that's kind of where the problem starts. But I think right now we're in a good space. I can see that dish working its way through. How far have we reached?
So we are almost halfway, Arjun.
That's done.
The chicken and everything has cooked well. It is halfway through because this is not the country chicken. This is a broiler.
Okay.
So the broiler cooks probably in half an hour. So we are almost there. At this stage, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful mixture here, and it is smelling really, really very good. And at this stage, I'm going to just taste a little bit for salt and see if the salt is okay. So slightly on the higher side, but this has imparted a wonderful sour note towards the end, and I feel that we can add a little bit of the spice.
Okay.
That spice mix that was there, I've added that all, and now at this stage we will add stock or water to it. I have some hot water right here, and this is the measuring cup.
Okay.
We have 2 cups of rice with us. We add 2 cups of water, and this particular dish is not a dish where all pieces of rice are independent. They are not sticking. So this has to be a dish which is slightly moist, slightly sticky, and that is what gives it that wonderful taste.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
We've added water to this. We'll just simmer it for a little while, and again I'm going to check salt here because the salt from the sausage is also seeped out. It does need a little salt and a little black pepper because the rice is going to take in that a little bit of black pepper also. And time to add our rice. And before I add the rice, what I want to do is throw in this wonderful fresh coriander that I had cut. So this is our home touch coriander. We love coriander, and this fresh coriander goes really very well with this particular dish. And some more flavor we will add to this by adding a little bit of basil. And basil, I'm just going to add the leaves to it directly. We're not using dry basil, but we're using fresh basil. A little more. Dry basil is very intense and has got this very woody kind of note. It doesn't smell of basil at all. But this should be a nice fragrant dish. You just push them in, and here goes our rice. And shrimp is last what we will add to this.
Okay.
Because shrimp cooks really fast. Use my hand to just take out a little bit of it. So this has been soaked for about 20-25 minutes, and then I've drained it out, and it's been sitting. So it should not take too much of time to cook. And because
That is wonderful. That looks very
I'm
good.
just going to mix it in a little bit and put the shrimps on top. Just press them down a little bit. That's all that we need for this dish. And I'm going to reduce I think a little bit of water we need, a little extra water we need to put. I think these are enough. I'll add a little more water so it remains a little more moist.
So what you want to do is you want to make sure the water covers the ingredients. Is that correct?
Correct. So we had used exactly 1:1 ratio, but I've just added a little more.
Okay, good.
So now this has come to a boil. We cook it open like this till it kind of most of the water absorbs, and then we will cover it. I've reduced the temperature. I'll reduce it further. So about another 10-15 minutes of slow cooking, and this should be ready.
Easy. You know, I love these kind of dishes where it is, you know, one pot dish. Everything just goes in together, comes out together. As I think that's really good, and you make it look really easy as well. So
And this is Arjun. This is a great Sunday dish.
I think so too. I think I can eat it every day. I don't have to wait for Sundays. I can eat it every day.
Correct. No, Sundays, everybody wants to be relaxed. So, if you can just chuck everything in the pot and, let it simmer, you're ready with a meal,
Sounds good.
Just about half an hour, 45 minutes.
Good thing is you're doing this on Father's Day, which is on Sunday, and I think every father's going to get an idea, or at least every kid's going to get an idea what to do. All right, so we're going to come back. For that very reason, I'm going to ask you the next question, Chef Dean.
Sure, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Me yesterday as well that you love to travel, and I think I see that all across. Your entire family loves to travel. In your view, with your extensive travel, what influence do you think it's had on your cooking as a chef? Has it influenced you at all?
Arjun, I think everybody should put in their list travel right on top, because the more you travel, we travel when we travel, local cuisine and local markets is really top on our list. Going there, understanding the culture, interacting with people gives you so much perspective on different styles of cooking, and your mind opens up to newer flavors, newer techniques, newer ways of treating different material, and that you can bring back and incorporate in your cooking, which can really take it 2 notches up. So this has happened to me, because everywhere we go, we try and fix cooking sessions with local chefs or local food enthusiasts who are known in that area for cooking. We usually try and patch up with them and do sessions with them.
Wow, wow. So obviously, Kanksha, it goes without saying, you're very lucky in the process. Both your parents love to travel, and I think I've seen your blog posts, and they're full of travel. So tell us one thing during this, and specifically during the last 1 year, because I've seen you travel extensively, which is really, really good. You're lucky that way. Which is the one food destination, according to you, Akanksha, be it during a pandemic where there is restricted travel or otherwise?
I feel like, for me personally, since I love Southeast Asian cuisine, I'm a big fan. So personally, for me, it's Thailand. I feel that, I could go back there anytime because I love the food. I think it's more also towards the palate as well. It's not just like a little bit of chili. They have a lot of flavors going on.
Love Thai cuisine.
So I think that's one spot. If for me personally, like I could go back there every month just for the food.
She loves Thai
I
cuisine.
love Thai.
Or in fact, Southeast Asian.
Yes, Southeast Asian.
She's a big fan.
Big fan. And I remember when I was in school as well, I would watch all these shows, and I remember I got an opportunity to meet Bobby Chin because of you. I was, I would watch his food shows, and you made that dream come true. So yeah, and he used to do a lot of travels in Southeast Asia, and I used to watch all his shows. And I think that's where I also got that, that sense of the cuisine as well. And I remember the day I met him.
No, I remember that vividly, so clearly as well. Shavdeen, let me share something because I only remember that.
So Arjun, before we go ahead, at this stage, you can see, there are holes that have started the holes have got created in this dish, and there are bubbles coming from there. This is the stage when we will take the lid and cover it.
Okay.
So now, 10 minutes by the watch, and it should be done.
All right, good. So we'll try and cover some ground during those 10 minutes as well.
Right.
I'm going to go back to that very day when Akanksha and Rupali had come to the institute. I remember looking at Akanksha. I mean, it had been as if she had seen an amusement park for the first time. Her eyes were glee, and I felt so good that she was there. And I mean, there's nothing that I would have done to keep that away. But no, that's lovely, Akanksha. I mean, Thai cuisine, you're right. It is so close to our palate. It is so close, and a lot of Indians are very fond of Thai cuisine, and vice versa. A lot of Thai nationals like Indian food. Within India as well, Akanksha, would you think of any place that within India that you feel is really, really good when it comes to cuisine and culture?
Kolkata. For me, Kolkata. All the way.
Really?
Yeah, I love Tangra. So, again, the Chinese part of it.
Wow.
And also, the local Bengali cuisine as on its own is delicious.
Yeah.
Starting from your luchis and your bangan bhaja,
Aloo
aloo dum. So, these dishes are like, they're so delicious. And I remember just before the pandemic had started, we actually we went for New Year's to Calcutta, and
we really ate.
we were just eating. We did an entire food trip every
So it
day.
was just an eating trip.
We would go to the local markets and then,
Eat.
Yeah, that's all we did. So Kolkata would top my list to be the foodie destination for me.
Where does Delhi come in your list? How far along in the list is it?
See, Delhi is love for street food. I think I can't compare Delhi street food to any other street food.
Good answer, Akanksha.
I feel that Delhi food on its own has its own charm. Like, you can't get the chola bhatura or
That quality.
Anywhere else. So I don't think it's justice to compare. But Delhi itself has its own, cuisine.
Yes.
So it's love, actually. Like, I'm sitting at home. I'm missing going out and eating proper chaat. I don't want to order, from outside, because you won't get that flavor, that water. It's completely different.
You don't want that nice clean version of it, no? You want that nice version which we remember.
Yes, you want the vendor's version. You don't want a nice clean version.
Yeah.
The vendor version probably is the best, and a lot of hotels are making the effort now, and over the years they have started improving. I think they are collaborating with vendors. They're calling the vendors to the hotels, and then these vendors are kind of partly training their teams, and that is how they're getting the taste closer to what they would get on a street stall.
Yeah.
So that is started happening now.
Yeah.
And in bits and pieces, you see places which serve really good taste, but still not there.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so the next question again, Akanksha, is going to come to your side. Your father is an exceptional chef. We've said this before. We'll keep saying it. He's a great role model, and all around, we've seen him to be a very, very composed person. Now, how has he influenced your career or growth? I mean, how would you possibly say that it's his influence has been on your career and general personality growth?
The most important thing which he taught me is patience. Because if you're cooking something, you have to be extremely patient, and the other thing is that you have to be organized. So
Be a little louder.
you have to be organized and you have to be a little patient. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have your mise en place ready and you don't have your ingredients ready and you're just going about, making a dish half-heartedly, it's not going to work out. So you should implement cleanliness after every step you do. You should clean because it's important. It's like you have this mental peace as well. But I think being organized, being clean, being patient, these are the things which have helped in my growth, I feel personally, because these are the things which they don't teach you in college, right?
Most of it.
Most of the colleges they don't teach you that. We like as a culinary student, we are thrown into a completely new environment when we do industrial training. We're like completely zombied out because we're like, this was not taught in college, This is like a new phase in life. We've never done this. So I think those things, those qualities which he, taught me from the beginning, because I told him that, I want to be a chef. I also want to cook. So he clearly said that, don't do it. Because
Me?
he did. He told me don't do
Super.
He told me don't do it because he was like, are you sure? Because, if you want to be a chef, you have to be 101% committed.
Yes.
Because see, at the end of the day, it's a big it takes a big part of your life,
Yes.
because you're constantly working in a kitchen. You don't have much of a social life. Your family is the kitchen. You have to be literally married to it. So you have to be clean, organized, and patient so that you can appreciate it. Because once you can't handle that kind of pressure, then I don't think you'll be able to survive. So I
Well,
think these.
that's true. I think I can relate to that. And I think in a way what, if I was to picture it, what Chef Dean was trying to do was to impart you the importance of choosing this profession, which is what I think you
Yes,
want. I couldn't agree with you more on all the facets of his personality that you just narrated, because I have to share something here. One of my first experiences of meeting him, one of my first incidents was actually, I don't know if he remembers, was that the Thai embassy had organized this workshop at the Oberoi Gurgaon, where he
Oh,
and
yes.
had the chefs from Blue Elephant come and demonstrate, do a master class. And Akanksha, I have to tell you, he was the most humble person in the room. He was there as a student, and I said, he's a chef. He doesn't have to be this way. But he came across meticulously, organized and so part of the whole experience. I said, this is truly a chef who, we all should reckon with. So, yes, you're right. I think it's very, very important to be organized, to clean up, those basic principles which schools don't teach you. The school should teach you. I think every school is, particularly a school like ours, we try and focus on an all-rounded development of because we recognize the values that you just narrated are very, very essential for a good chef. So that's wonderful. And
And Arjun, I'd just like to add here that this profession requires discipline like army. So if you can't be disciplined, you cannot run this, kitchen.
yes,
It is next to impossible because everything has to be prepped, everything has to be checked, everything has to be in time. Because when your guests come and sit in the restaurant and you are not prepared, it is a disaster. So you have to have this meticulous planning through and through. And because this is food and something which a guest is going to ingest, you have to make sure this is absolutely safe for consumption. So safety should be the number one priority. So safety, in terms of systems and processes, safety in terms of fire, electricals, food, contamination, all aspects of safety need to be covered. So that makes a good chef if he steps up and learns all of that.
yeah. Well, I agree.
That is one of the reasons why we were discouraging her all the time, because it is a lot of hard work and you really have to sacrifice quite a lot.
Yeah, well, then I agree. I think you're right. I think it's important to show the mirror and show the real picture, because you know what, without without disrespecting any media, what televisions often tend to do is they only tend to show one side of the dimension.
Correct.
Not, I wish that they showed the other side, but I guess not many people would watch it then. But but for entertainment purpose, they show the side that's more glittery. And though I think, Chef, you've answered one of my last very few questions that were left, But if you want to add anything, do let me know. The question I had for you was, if there is one thing that you'd want every culinary aspirant to do or follow, what would it be? As I said, I think you've already answered it, but if you have anything to add,
Oh
please.
yes, I would definitely like to add, but before that, let us just switch this off because it has been 10 minutes.
All right.
So we let it hold for a little while so that all the flavors they kind of mingle with each other and this comes out as a fantastic dish. So for all the people who want to pursue, culinary as a profession, so the biggest thing that they should kind of write down and put it on the list is invest in themselves. They should save up and invest in really good reading material or books that they should, uh, get for themselves. They should invest in travel, so that means they have to plan and save up so that they can travel. If they can't go abroad, at least traveling within India or just out of your state to see what is happening around. That is going to be a lot of learning for them. So this is a very very important aspect that I would like to tell everybody who wants to kind of pursue culinary arts as a profession. Invest in yourself, which we hesitate to do.
Okay, good. That's really good. Wonderful. And Akanksha, from your side, what advice would you give to aspiring chefs? Particularly for women. We see so many women. I mean, you mentioned earlier on that you were empowered to see a woman chef lead a kitchen, and I hope that becomes more and more often that we'll enter kitchens where women are heading those kitchens. It's already happening. I've already seen so much evidence of that happening in India as well, where we have lovely chefs like Chef Manisha and Chef Neeta Nagraj, so many other exceptional chefs who are leading kitchens. What advice would you give for women women who are looking to enter this industry from a woman's perspective?
So my advice would be that if you're really passionate about cooking, then I think there is nothing that you do, nothing that can stop you. Because I've also faced a lot of a work environment where women are bullied because it's such a male-dominated industry. This is a reality. It is a male-dominated industry, but I think women are more emotionally strong than men. So I think whatever pressure comes, we are like super ready for it, and we might not be biologically as strong, but the amount of mental strength as we women have, can't beat anybody else. And I feel that if you're really passionate about something, whether it being in any profession, whether it being cooking or doing anything, I think women are as equal as men and they should follow their path. And if they really enjoy doing it, then why not? And I've seen so many women, I've seen over the past year, women are opening their own restaurants.
So
There are all women kitchens. And I've experienced that abroad. And now I see it, coming back to us. And I feel that, now it's the time that, it's not just men. There are women also in the kitchen. And if you look at our history, women have passed down recipes to men. It's not the other way around. Women have been the cooks. It's just that in India, it's not been documented as much. But you have so many recipes which are still yet to explore. And I feel that as a woman, if you want to be a chef, you should do it. Yeah, it does come with a lot of hard work and a lot of physical labor too. But you have to be up for it and mentally strong and prepared. And I think it's something if they enjoy or they can do it, doing anybody, whether a boy or a girl, they should do it. So that would be my advice, that if you're passionate, then do it. Don't look back. If it makes you happy, then do it. And if it doesn't make you happy, then don't do it.
If it makes you happy, then don't do it. You're right.
your heart says.
Go with what your heart says.
Do what your heart says. I think those are golden words. We should all live by them. You're right. There are a lot of opportunities coming about. I mean, the examples that I gave earlier, there are far more contemporary and recent examples. I mean, right from Chef Radhika to Chef Megha, Chef Anahita.
Yes.
Reckon with the youth, the future of this country, which is
Yes.
very important. And you're one of them. I think you're a very good role model and example also. You've been there and back, which is actually a dilemma and a lot of people actually go through. And I'd like you to throw a little light on this if you can. people keep saying that, and have often said that, traveling abroad is very, very important. And I second that. I think if you can, you should. But do you believe that all the opportunities only are there, or are there anything that is there anything that
No, I don't see. The only thing I would say, only thing I would want to clarify is that you should travel. Whether it be, it's not going abroad. It's abroad is not the end of the world. Like going to any place. Like even in India, India is not a small country. India is big. It's massive. So if you go to any region, it's like if you go like 5 kilometers away, like the dialect changes, even your cuisine changes. You'll have like maybe like a slightly tweaked version of a dal or a tweaked version of a rice dish or something or the other. So I would feel that, even reading books is very important, but I feel that for me, since my parents had, I was fortunate enough that they took me every year to travel
I think they
for
won't
food.
take you, Akanksha, don't worry.
But I would encourage people to, travel, explore. You will discover so many things, and food as a topic is something which is never ending.
Never ending. Yeah.
You cannot possibly learn everything. There's so much to learn. Like even now, there are so many recipes which I myself don't know or have discovered. So I feel that the more you travel, the more you learn, the more you discover. And if you get an opportunity to travel abroad, do it, because again you'll get to see new ingredients. That's what I would encourage. But if you're not being able to travel in your own country, because I feel that India is like the mother. Is like the mother of all cuisines. The people say it's the French cuisine. They say French because obviously it's more documented more. Unfortunately, we didn't have that much of documentation. But if you go and explore small regions, then we have too much actually.
Yeah, you're right. I think I read somewhere that there is no such thing as Indian cuisine. There is no such thing as Punjab cuisine, because
Yeah.
it gets divided at least at least a dozen times before you.
There are interesting concepts, like it all depends also on people. Like if a certain set of people come and settle there, they come in with they influence the cuisine and your palate. And if some other cuisine comes, then maybe there's a nice mix of that, so then you get a new cuisine altogether. So I feel that it's never ending. So travel in your own country. If you get an opportunity to go abroad, that's also exceptionally good, but it's not the end of the world, because you have a big encyclopedia already available to you, which is your country. You don't really need to travel. You can, be inspired. And I feel right now we have the biggest tool, which is social media. You have YouTube.
Yeah.
You have so much material which is readily available online. If you don't, you can already access so much information which when I was younger was not available. Right now, you have a big span of recipes and access to so much information.
Any recipe.
Right now, if I'm sitting at home, if I'm like, let's say for example, I'm a home cook, and I want to make, let's say, a recipe of a waffle or a pancake. I've never made it in my life, but I go on YouTube, I click it, I try it out. Maybe a couple of times you'll fail, but by the end of it, you'll perfect it. You can perfect it. So I think there's no limit to just traveling, but
And let's not forget, for those privileged ones who have amazing chefs and foodies at home like yourself, you have an encyclopedia at home.
and it's sitting right next to me. Yeah, so that is, I think, I'm very fortunate, and like I have access to it, like here. Like I don't need to even click a button. I can just go to him and be like, Dad, tell me, please help me out.
I mean, I have to confess, I loved it how you put it. I was lucky that they took me. Akanksha, I think they want to take you through and through for their travels. That's wonderful. Shabdeen, how are we looking up on that dish now?
It's done.
It's done.
And it's looking fantastic. Let me just
Yes, please.
let
I'm now very hungry.
me just open it
I
up.
had a very light breakfast.
You can have a look at it. It's a little moist.
I find it intriguing. You're the one being fed, Akanksha. It's Father's Day.
Yes.
The rice is cooked very well, and now we can take out all these pieces of thyme that we had put in.
Wow.
And Akanksha, do you want to pass me the plate? I'm just going to give a little bit to Akanksha so she can taste and tell us what. So we could use a little more tomato in this. Depends all on what your palate is at home, and you can just adapt it to that.
Sure.
So this is our version of a jambalaya.
This is your version of a jambalaya. That's wonderful. And tell me something. Is it often that you all cook this dish at home, or is it a special occasion dish, or is it a Sunday dish?
It's more like a Sunday dish, but we don't do it every Sunday.
Okay.
Like it'll depend
Okay.
on our mood. What we want to eat on that particular Sunday.
So Arjun, this I'm eating for you.
That's very kind of you, chef. Thank you so much.
This is your share, which I'm going to take.
Thank you so much. That's the best part of this show. We do it, and guests like yourselves who are generous to cook.
And this is for everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think Akanksha is speechless. That's always a good sign.
You can taste the chorizo, and it's like that smokiness is like gotten into the rice.
Wow,
It's a very good mix of flavors.
good. It's like a meat lover's paradise, yeah. If you are all the
It's a great combination. So to everybody,
thank you very much. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, already I was really hungry.
Well, if I knew that was being cooked, I would have had a light breakfast too.
a lot of flavors, and the rice is a little underdone, so I've just covered it up. So while it is in the steam, it's going to get through, but good to eat.
Excellent, excellent, wonderful. And Chef Dean, Akanksha, I cannot thank you enough for letting us in your homes, sharing such wonderful and fond memories of your travels together, of Akanksha's education, her career, everything from Chef Dean's experience. And a big thank you to both of you and Rupali as well, who is and the force that brings everyone together. I think it's been a wonderful experience. Chef, thank you so much for sharing this recipe.
Thank you, Arjun, and it was lovely being on this episode.
Thank you very much.
We really enjoyed interacting with you. Thank you so much.
Wish you both.
Thank you so much for having us and giving me an opportunity to learn another new dish with my father.
Thank you very much, Akanksha. And might I add, for all our viewers, this is the very first interview that both Akanksha and Chef Dean have given. So you've been a part of something very special for us and them as well. And with that, I'd like to thank our viewers for watching this episode today. Do try this recipe at home. Obviously, Chef Dean and Akanksha have made it look super easy, and I'm sure you'll try it out and share your feedback with us. And keep cooking, keep enjoying all good things in life just as they are, and wish you all a very happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And stay safe.